Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Please Watch This Podcast, where two film-loving mates with gaps in their viewing history recommend films to one another, so we can once and for all answer that question: who has better taste? My name's Sam Blakely. I'm joined as always by Hugh Dempsey. Hello, Hugh.
Hello, Sam. How are you this evening?
I'm very well, sweltering, as the rest of the UK nation is this week. How are you coping with the heat?
I'm glad we're doing a podcast and not a live video stream, because I don't want to upset listeners with gross visuals. So
yeah, me too. Nudity, etc. It's all in the name of hydration and good heat regulation. I don't know. Yeah. I can't complain. I really can't complain, because I complain when it's cold. So I'm not.
I complain more about the cold than I do the heat. If I had to choose, I'd rather be like this than be cold, because I can cool myself down. Where in the heat, in the cold, you can warm yourself up, but as soon as you go anywhere outside of a certain heat perimeter, you're just cold again, and it's miserable.
Well, I think we've covered the witty banter. Let me introduce our listeners to this week's episode. As we do each week, one of us has seen a film, the other one hadn't seen it before. They recommend it, and then the other one watches the film, and we find out how they felt about it. Pretty succinct. Sam, well done.
Yeah, pats on the back all round.
Thanks. This week, I have recommended the great Jordan Peele film, Get Out. The Jordan Peele film.
I've prepared for Get Out, mate, by director Jordan Peele.
This is the porn parody. Get in.
Oh, right. Get in.
That was quick, wasn't it? I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the film Get Out. Hopefully you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, honestly, stop listening now. Go and watch it, and then listen again.
Okay. Yeah. No. But there is going to be spoilers in this.
We are going to spoil it right from the start.
We are going to spoil it quite early doors.
This is not a review. This is not something to listen to before you watch it. This is after you've seen it.
This is two mates just talking about a film.
Talking about a film that will be spoiled.
Now, I want to caveat, because this is the first modern day film we've done, so to speak.
It's the first film we've done since the two of us were born in the late 80s. Yes.
I want to say that I wanted to see this film when it came out.
Oh, you're so woke.
Yeah, I am. What can I say? I'm down with people, you know.
Yeah.
I'm now sounding.
You didn't even know what to say. I'm down with the people.
Yeah, me and people on a level. But I did want to see this when it came out, but I just didn't have the opportunity, and you just got in there before me. So I feel like on our scoring system, if I do like this film, then I feel like this is a hollow victory for you, because I'm not competitive at all. Clearly.
So, because it's an easy win, because I recommend good films.
Yeah, you're recommending films
that I was... Star Wars tripe.
Yeah. Because
my hatred is growing more and more each week. It's weird. I haven't seen it again, but I'm disliking it more and more.
Yeah, maybe it'll come full circle to the point where you'll be like, I know so much about it that I actually begrudgingly respect this.
I hated it so much that it's gone all the way around to not hating it anymore, and actually, queuing up for the next, I don't know, installment number 12.
Ha ha ha.
We're not far off that. So let's deal with Get Out then. So, why have I recommended this film to Hugh? I've only seen it 3 times with the director's commentary on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but about 10 times without it. I really do love this film. And, you know, I don't really have a sentimental value for it. It only came out 2 years ago. But I do have a real love of it. I think it's very effective. And for me, it gave me a great deal of insight that I didn't know I needed into what you could call the African American experience.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it, I guess.
Because it was great, because it wasn't a redneck, obviously racist Christian right group. It was the liberal elite. And it was all of the little bits of value signalling that all of the white people do, where actually it's sort of positive racism, sort of putting black people up on a pedestal, saying, well, they're cool, they've got genetic advantages on a physical level, and I'll get straight into it right now. I mean, later on we're due to talk about what our favourite line of dialogue is, but I have to say it now. It's the line of dialogue that everybody says, which is, I would have voted for Obama a third time. And everyone he meets, every white person he meets is just trying to lay out their credentials as woke and not racist. The white golfer, old golfer who talks immediately about Tiger Woods as though Chris is going to know him.
Do you know what I've just thought? Yeah. We should, sorry to interrupt, but we should probably say what the actual premise of this film is. I know this is generally for people who've seen these movies.
We'll give it a sort of
I think actually an overview of the premise of this film actually makes you describe the sensation of what it is, what it's about.
Sure. So, yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to do that? Shall I do that?
I can do that. Like it's a challenge. So it's a young black man. He's got a white girlfriend. We begin with her and him packing to go see her family, and it's a wealthy family in the country who are white, and they immediately are sort of fascinated by his blackness. They hold a party with lots of their white friends, and a lot of creepy shit goes down.
Yeah.
The premise-wise, is that sounds like a trailer premise that tries to draw people into watching the film. Should we say what happens in the story? We just assume that the listener knows what happens in the story. We're not a very linear podcast.
No, we're a very not linear podcast. Look, there's a big spoiler in this film. We're going to spoil it. So basically what it turns out is that and I'm going to spoil it now for you, so if you don't want to have this spoiler and you want to stop listening...
You've been warned enough.
Yeah, we'll count down. We'll count down together, shall we? 3. Come on, get into
3, 2, 1. Spoiler.
That went seamlessly.
I also, before you crack on, this is I think it's the first film we've covered that can be spoiled. Indiana Jones. It's not.
Empire.
Yeah, but who doesn't know that?
I've met people.
Right.
I'm just putting it out there.
What were their views about?
They tended to be people who
they didn't know.
They just didn't watch these kind of films.
Yeah, but anyway, okay, so that is a spoiler, but not really. And then Indiana Jones, it's an adventure film. He's not going to die. There's no real spoiler there, is there?
There's no stakes, really, was there, in that film in the end?
No. Not in its genre.
Yeah, I suppose not. I would have almost liked in Indiana Jones for her to have actually died and it just be about him morosely trying to revenge her death.
Oh, him dying would have been a much more dramatic end.
Yeah, yeah.
It threw away $1 billion in franchise, but more interesting ending.
Go on, sorry, you were saying that.
So, Get Out. Tell me more.
Yeah, so the spoiler of this film is basically that the people who were at this party, not the people of the party, so it turns out that the girlfriend and the family of the girlfriend have actually manipulated the situation because they've the antagonist as she is, Rose, Alison Williams' character is actually the granddaughter of a man who's invented a technique that, in conjunction with hypnosis, allows people to transfer their consciousness into the bodies of other people. And the fashion in this film is that people are being manipulated by Rose and by her brother, who's in his attempts to steal people. Turns out it's black people, they get it's like a bit like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, really.
It's Stepford Wives meets being John Malkovich, meets modern day slavery.
Yeah,
essentially.
It's a great way of.
And it's such a good take on it. And it's not that they're enslaving people because they think they're lesser. It's actually that they're enslaving them because they want to be them.
Yeah, it's, as you said, it's almost like positive discrimination that occurs when you. I
came across a fascinating phrase for it actually, which came about in the, I think it was in the 30s or something in Paris, and it was called negrophilia.
Yeah,
which kind of makes sense. It's that sort of enamorment of the black lifestyle, of the aesthetic and culture and all that sort of thing. So it's either admiring and wanting to sleep with black people, or it's wanting to imitate their imitate them, kind of speaking like a rapper or, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's very evident here.
Yeah. And, we had a lot of that as from kids we knew growing up. It's like, you're from
We certainly
Yorkshire.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. It always, but you can, it's a phenomena that does happen.
I mean, I get it a lot.
Documented in the 30s.
In my town where I am now, there's a lot of 14-year-old white boys who've never seen a black person kissing their teeth, and kind of just spitting out lines in class, and it's I just think you're not in Baltimore right now, that you're not in South Central LA. It's unbelievable, but it's not a new issue, but it's something that I think Jordan Peele's captured very well in this film, and I think that's the most obvious thing to really like about it. It's political, it's social commentary on racism, but not in a white people hate black people, isn't that bad, they're aggressive towards them, but in they see them as a commodity, as a trinket, as an intriguing thing. He's paraded around like.
Yeah, there was, one description I heard of the film was it's looking at race in the post, in a post-racial era in America,
just before Trump got elected, which was just really really affected the interpretation of the film.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll get into that a bit later once we've actually gone through our thoughts and feelings on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a little list I've written up about what I really love about it. I think what's really great about it from a sort of directorial filmmaking debut is just so damn creepy.
Oh, well, yeah, we need to mention that there's obviously two sides to this film, or many layers to this film,
Mm-hmm.
and one layer is the thriller horror genres, tropes and things like that. I mean, I think, there's three layers at least to this film, and in terms of its genre and narrative, you've got at least three genres in there. You've got horror, you've got thriller, and you've got comedy,
satire, sort of.
Yeah,
exactly. Comedy, satire, horror /
and interwoven in that is the your social commentary and its observational ability. I mean, personally, from my point of view, obviously, I don't know how to deal with the things that I can empathise, but I don't. I can sympathise and empathise, but I've never been in that situation. And
it's what I loved about it. I mean, whenever you see Jordan Peele in an interview about this, he says this is a horror film that finally is representing the black voice in horror films. He says, I think it's an Eddie Murphy bit. I remember him in conversation with Stephen Colbert talking about this Eddie Murphy bit, saying, that there wouldn't be a black film. There wouldn't be a horror film if there was a black main character. Amityville Horror, I think it was. They go into the house. Oh, isn't this a lovely house? I'm so glad we've moved in here. Get out. Shame we can't stay. And obviously Rod is the character of get the fuck out of there. He's that character. Daniel Kaluuya's character, Chris, he's not stupid. He's trapped because they're out in the countryside, and towards the end she has the keys. They're trapped, but he's smart. And there's a great bit in the director's commentary. There's 2 or 3 occasions where Jordan Peele says, in this scenario, a self-respecting black man would act like this. So at the very beginning, if you remember, we see Andre walking through the suburb at night, and a car starts following him, and he turns around and says, "No, not today, not today." And as a white man, I wouldn't have done that. And again in the commentary, Jordan Peele said, any self-respecting black man would have done that in that scenario. He's done this logical thing, but he still gets kidnapped. Chris, lots of times is doing the right thing. He's not getting himself involved. There's even the bit where he has to be hypnotized. He doesn't want to be hypnotized. He's sat there but he's resisting. He's not saying, "Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Why don't you hypnotize me?" He's resisting it, and obviously, Catherine Keener's character is just brilliant at bringing him in. So that's what I really loved about it, was getting that insight. As you say, it's hard to empathize like you've been in that situation, but it was just insightful, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in terms, I think a great way for us to look at this film. So obviously we're going to try and follow our normal structure and have like, what's your favourite scene, what's your line. Mm-hmm. So we'll try to follow that, but I think maybe just to give ourselves some sanity, we'll try and break the film down by its social issues, by its actual genres that it covers. So we'll talk about, the film itself, like the narrative, the plot, what it's, we'll analyse it and look at it from that point of view as well. I think it's a good idea because, we need to maybe be able to separate out the social commentary and actually just analyse the film for itself on its own merits, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, so the thing I really love about the film and the filmmaking was the tone that was struck, aside from the racial commentary and so on. It's so it's so inspired by The Shining in many ways and Stepford Wives. The score, so Michael Abel, this is his first time on a film score, I guess it's so right from the very start, and the credit sequence, the title sequence, with the violins, it's discordant, and it's what Peele called a satanic Negro spiritual.
Yeah,
which I think was just great, and it's just sort of blended all those things, and it's just so creepy. Another kind of Shining influence when Rose's dad's character is taking Chris through into the kitchen, and he says, we left a little bit of my mum in here, and just Georgina's
literally
smile.
Stood there.
It's like the twins in The Shining. It's that sort of moment. I
haven't
think
seen it, remember?
Of course, yeah. You've seen that scene, though, I'm sure.
Yeah. I've seen it.
And it's so good at creating that weird thing. Excuse me, and it just really works as a creepy film because you sort of know something's up. They're not good people, but they haven't said much out of place. Rose's brother Jeremy's been inappropriate, but
everyone has a family member who's inappropriate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then everyone at the party is just too over-familiar and too interested in him being black. And there's the woman asking, what's the sex like, basically, and everybody's sort of referring to him being black. And so you go, well, this is weird, but it's not. This is not a horror film yet. Maybe that's a white person's point of view, and it's just this creepy, it's just creeping thing. There's a couple of jump scare type things, but you go, well, what the hell is going on then? What could be happening?
Well, the best jump scare for me in the opening kind of act is the Walter running at night.
Oh, so well done, isn't
Marcus
it?
Henderson's character. It's just weird.
Yeah.
I mean, why he's outside at night late at night, running around, even though it's his own property in his head, and that's fine for him to do that sort of thing.
Do you know why he's doing that?
Yes, yeah. So apparently it's because he came third to Jesse Owens in the American trials, so he's trying to beat Jesse Owens' time.
That's right. And then at the end, when he chases down Chris's character, just when he's trying to get away, I don't know if this was actually going to happen. Jordan Peele said that he originally had him saying, "What was it? Beat you, Jesse! Got you now, Jesse." It seemed a bit on the nose, I think. No, it's such a good shot because I think the score. It's just this sort of. It's like in Holy Grail. Monty Python's Holy Grail, Holy Grail, when he's running towards the castle, and it's just playing the same footage over and over, dun, 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 but scarier.
Yeah,
it's really well.
I heard, in fact, you could play, you could almost re-edit this film and give it a different score, and the stuff that seems creepy and unusual could be, played for laughs.
A bit slapstick.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, a quick word on Marcus Henderson, actually. Because of the way he played that character, I was convinced the actor was in his 40s.
Yeah.
He's just turned 30, basically. He's like...
Wow.
He's a young, fit man. That's why the granddad wanted the body. But when he's talking about a doggone keeper, top of the line, I thought it was genuinely knocking on a bit.
Again, that talks to the writing of Jordan Peele, that he could capture this kind of essence of a 60, 70-year-old white man who died like a few years previous, and was able to, get the dialogue, and you believe that because it was so straight. Like what's the character in the with the hat in the garden party who's dressed really strange, and he's like, when Chris's character goes up to him, he's like, it's good to see your brother here. Andre, yeah. And I think the acting in this film all around is pretty on point.
Yeah.
But
Well, speaking of great acting, and on a similar note as Marcus Henderson, Betty Gabriel, who played Georgina, the housekeeper, she's also like in her very early 30s. And again, could pass for over 40 because of her manner. Just a
yeah,
great bit of acting when she's trying to sort of tamp down the spirit, it's like, no, 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 and lets out a tear. I mean, amazing
yeah,
acting, right up to the camera. There's no cut they can put a tear on or something. Just really wonderful.
yeah. I like the bit where she's looking, she's preening herself in the reflection of the glass, and that again, like you said, that's a very kind of old lady thing.
Yeah, but it's also her admiring her beautiful new face and young face.
Yeah,
But it seems like it's just there for a jump scare, but actually it makes sense. And then it's the same with Walter running. It seems like it's there for a cheap jump scare, and then you go, oh right,
yeah,
that wasn't just a random thing to happen.
yeah. So what was your favourite scene of the film then?
My favourite scene, I think, is the dinner party, the party, when he's sort of being introduced around, and that's sort of I suppose a conglomeration of scenes, but it's basically any scene where a white person is embarrassing themselves in front of Chris. So I really like the scene between Chris and Rosa's dad, whose name escapes me now, annoyingly. When he says I would have
Dean.
Dean, yeah, that's right, Dean.
Yeah.
Where he says I would have voted for Obama a third time. I just think that's so well done because he's putting him at ease whilst making him completely on edge.
Yeah.
And I thought that was done very, very well. How about you? What would be your favourite scene? Oh, do we do that later?
Well, yeah, you need to.
We'll do that later when we find out whether you liked it or not. Yeah, so favourite line.
Well, you've got to ask. The next bit is you. Well, did I like? Ask me if I liked this.
Well, there's another little thing actually before that, which is just one other thing I really like about it, and then what I want to do is say why I think you'd like it and why I think you might not like it, and then we'll get to that. So the other good thing I really like about it is that it fits together really well, and it's made. I rewatched Shaun of the Dead recently, and as a sort of debut proper feature film, it's so perfectly written because it just mirrors everywhere and there's foreshadowing all over. And this film is exactly the same. Everything is in there for a reason. I was looking at some advice for writers by a lady called Jill Chamberlain, and she said that the problem that a lot of writers make is they'll write a scenario, they won't write a story. And the idea is that for it to be a proper story, the main character has to fit that story as well. You couldn't just replace them with another character from something else. And what Jordan Peele does really well here is he makes it perfectly explicable why Chris is in the scenario that he's in, why he does some of the stupid things he does, why he sticks around, and it makes that because it's his mother, he's got this sort of mother issue, and so it makes that. So it just fits together perfectly well, and some of the foreshadowing is great. Even little things like the first time we see Chris is in front of the mirror, and he's putting white on his face, he's putting shaving cream on his face, and it's almost like he's preparing himself.
Yeah.
He says, "I don't want to be chased off the lawn with a shotgun," which I thought was great. And it's just so well foreshadowed. In fact, when I was looking at the Cinema Sins video for it, a lot of the video is just him taking off sins for how well it's made. And in fact, I got a quote from Cinema Sins: "I could probably remove all of the sins of this movie for being so much more than it is on its surface." So that's the final big thing that I really liked. And I think what you would like is the fact that it's a horror film without a stupid protagonist. He's not walking backwards all the time, and he's smart. And I think you'd like the fact that it's not just a stupid horror film, but actually it's got a real brain to it. So after the break, we'll find out what Hugh thought of Get Out.
So yeah, I mean, this film's amazing. I mean, I think obviously anyone listening to the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes will realise that
about Grace.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to even pretend that I didn't love this film, and thought how amazing it was, and for all the same reasons you've just mentioned there, the the sinister nature of it. It works as a horror film, it works as a thriller, it works as a social satire, it works as a commentary on the way white people behave around black people, the way black people behave around white people,
Mm-hmm.
or two groups of ethnicities that aren't, even though it's very set in, I can extrapolate here and say, even though this is, very much from a black director's and writer's point of view, and how he deals with the world and how he deals with the liberal elites, and him saying, oh well, I really like, a lot of these people will say these kind of things like, I voted for Obama 3 times, or I would have voted for Obama a third time if I could have, that kind of thing. You can extrapolate that out and say, well, any sort of situation where somebody who grows up in one country but is of a overtly different ethnicity to the majority group will have felt situations like this and been around people who weren't racist by their, like you said, by the virtual signaling. Now, obviously, yeah, at the end of the film, it was like you said, positive racism, which
still racism.
Yeah, and it's still racism. Yeah, and it's that virtue signaling. Like almost, I think by me enjoying this film, am I doing virtual signaling that I am woke?
I feel guilty like putting this podcast out there, thinking, oh yeah, this is a show that we're cool after Indiana Jones.
Yes. But in our defence, we did sit there saying, one of the main characters of that film was overt racism. Yeah. Let's be honest with that.
It's a different time.
Yeah, what did I say? About, it was something like, oh, it doesn't matter what nationality or something this person was, they're just disappointed that they weren't born English or American or something like that in the the Anglophile world, basically. The Anglophone world, so they must speak English around, even to their own compatriots, yeah. So my favourite scene is similar to yours. It's attached to the bit inside the, like you said, at the party where he's going around, but it's when he meets Stephen Root's character, Jim, and it's like you said. So yeah, I suppose one of the reasons I did like it was because it was a social satire first and foremost. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately that's what it is, and it gets away with some of its more like coincidental narrative threads, like him being out in the garden and then it's like the cinema sins, like, oh, that's a lot. Was she just sat there waiting for him to walk past?
Yeah, and then turn the light on.
Yeah, this is always my big problem with horror films, is that people do. I still think that was a strange thing to do. Do you know what I mean? To sit down and start talking to her, and he's clearly scared out of his mind that he's just had some guy running at him at full pelt, and then he's veered off, and the guy's not explained.
It makes you wonder what they normally do. Is she normally downstairs? Does Rose always get smokers, and then they know they're going to be jonesing and they need to go outside or something like that?
Well,
or did she just spot an opportunity and?
I think they profiled a smoker. Yeah. I think the characters, the writers.
Well, at the same time, though, they keep trying to make him stop smoking because, of course, and that's another great one where, he's being sort of chided for smoking, and you go, oh, it's because of secondhand smoke, and they don't want their daughter to marry a smoker. Nope, they want his body, and they want it to be as healthy as possible.
But they needed a reason to try and perform the hypnosis on him. So
true.
Yeah, so when it's the second reading of this film is amazing because it's
and the third and the fourth and the fifth,
when you the second time I tried here to watch it was I wanted to watch Rose's dialogue and Rose's actions and all the things Rose does, because on a purely narrative base, she is the best character in this film for me.
And what a performance! As well. There's a great line actually of Jordan Peele. Not that I'm here to promote other podcasts, but if you haven't listened to Q&A with Jeff Goldsmith, then what are you doing still listening to us? It's really good. And he has Jordan Peele on. He gets filmmakers on to talk about their film, and he talks about with Rose how he was unsure whether or not he really wanted to make it obvious that she was kind of in on it. How much do you want to hide that? And then he said, but if you have an opportunity to pull some Kaiser Soze shit, why wouldn't you pull some Kaiser Soze shit? It's great, and it's such. I mean, were you surprised?
No. You know that something was going to happen, so when I wasn't. No, take that back. I was a little bit surprised, but when you realise it was the whole family before, when you realise it's the brother, it's the mother and the father, you're like, well, obviously Rose is in on it as well. But that penny drops, like, as soon, the penny drops as soon as you all see the photographs, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's really a quick penny.
Yeah.
And it's a great performance from her. I mean, she keeps saying, can't find the keys, the keys, and then her face drops and she pulls the keys. And then immediately she ties her hair up and she's a fucking maniac robot who eats her Fruit Loops and her milk separately, and also, they knock him out, they put him back into the sunken place, they take Chris downstairs to the basement. When we see her up in her room, she's already got her former conquests up on the wall, their photos up on the wall in frames again.
Oh wow, I didn't notice that.
It took her like 15 minutes to go, okay, I'm going to get the photos back on the wall as as her dear trophies. It's a recurring
like any good psychopath.
Yeah.
Although it makes, I suppose, and it's got that kind of Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe to it there, that it's not just one bad apple, they're all bad apples. And
the idea would be something that Jordan Peele spent a lot of his time researching, especially when he got a bit of writer's block, was Knights Templar, and it was this idea that this family weren't just the originators of this. They were in a 100-year-old cult, essentially, that had this idea that white people are superior intellectually, morally, but black people might have superior physicality, and so they could sort of elevate themselves to some sort of demigod by taking on both and combining both, and that it's followed on. The interesting idea was that Jeremy was actually the one who was sort of fighting against that more than Rose, even though he's the one who's been the douchebag racist at the table.
Yeah.
Actually, he was the one who was rejecting this family's methods more than the others, which I thought was quite interesting. He's sort of testing the waters by pushing him quite far.
Yeah. Yeah, he wanted to test, if he was good enough. But I suppose that's one way of looking at it, I guess. I mean, obviously that's what So yes, but my favourite line in the film, unfortunately, now that you've said yours is really, up to date and satirical, but mine is, I wanted it to be the line where he goes, I would have voted for Obama for a third time if I could have, but my favourite line is at the end of the film when Little Rod comes in and saves him and he goes, "I'm motherfucking TSA.
Motherfucking A.
Fucking A. We handle our fucking shit," or something like that.
Consider this shit fucking handled.
Yeah, that's it. Consider this shit fucking handled. And the film just ends and it's the best. Yeah. Like, you do get the the mid-range wide-angle shot of Chris, and you can just see the horror on his face of this whole situation, and he's almost glazed over. It's like, oh my god, it's done, but it's not over. But I was just like still laughing at that line, and
it was great. And because they'd done the TSA thing a few times, and I was going, oh, am I getting bored of this? I can't decide. And then actually that hit, and it was really good.
So basically, my favourite scene was, like I said, the one where he meets Jim Hudson in the what turns out to be the auction gallery.
Oh yeah. What did you like about the scene?
Because it's two people who. So on one level, and when you first see it in the headspace you're in as an audience member, as you go, oh, this is a man who kind of he's world-wise. He's been outside of this kind of bubble, and there's just two people who are on a level with each other talking about the vicissitudes of life, and how just things are what they are. They talk about life sucking, and you think, and it draws you in brilliantly. You're like, oh yeah, this whatever's going to happen, this guy's not going to be involved. And then when you find out who he actually is, and he's almost the villain of the almost the arch villain of the piece, because he's the one who he's not just spoken to, he's not just tried to steal this guy's body, but he's actually tried to be nice to him. He's manipulated him. Yeah. And then when you watch some of the dialogue he has, when it's like, oh, you've got a great eye, and then that foreshadowing of him going, "I want your eye, man."
Yeah.
Later on, it's all that stuff there. It's just, it is hard to pick a favourite scene with this film because there are so many good scenes in it.
It's a very memorable film. There are some films that wash over you. This one, obviously, I've seen it many times now, but I feel like you would be able to just sort of retell this film basically scene by scene, which I think is quite rare. It means it's a good film.
Yeah, definitely. You know which scene's coming up. You know what's about to happen. So that was probably my favourite scene in the film. On reflection, it was hard. There was other scenes that I was almost going to opt for, but I thought that was the one that was the end of the second act, basically. Once he's met that character, that's it. That's the end of, oh well, things might be okay, and then that everything's about to turn to shit. Basically,
it's all gone.
I think we do have to give some praise for Daniel Kaluuya as well, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he basically was discovered by John Peel while he was watching Black Mirror in the UK, I think, and he watched 15 Million Merits. Saw him do that. Have you seen that?
Oh, was he? That the one where they're on that weird treadmill?
Yeah.
Thing?
The exercise bikes. Yeah, he's the main character, and he goes and gives that impassioned speech and has the broken glass to his neck. And it was giving that speech that convinced Jordan Peele that he should hire him for this film.
Do you know, I didn't even make the connection that was the same actor. Yeah, lots of Black Mirror is brilliant. But I remember that was one of the better ones based on
second episode as well, that.
Yeah.
I think that worked out quite well for his career, and he's gone on from there. Okay, well that's good. I mean, I'm really glad you liked it. Like you said, it did feel like a bit of a hollow victory because it's not a divisive film except for between racists and everybody else, maybe. So I'm quite happy that it worked.
Oh, that's what we were going to say. Yeah, is about So obviously, this was a film based about post-racism or post-racialism in America, and everyone's that kind of liberal, the correct attitude, but that liberal attitude. Everyone's the same. We don't look at race. And then, obviously, the film was made to represent, oh, well, it's still under the surface, really there in America, and, we're just kind of suppressing it now. But here's Obama, let's all forget about it. But then the film was released, like you said, when Donald Trump became elected, when he overtly campaigned on, quite frankly, a racist ticket, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't have to be racist to vote for Donald Trump, but all the racists did.
Yeah.
And it probably helped.
That's so then that to be, it's almost a commentary on the situation that they found themselves in America, where it was like, oh no, we weren't all the same. White people are still treating us the other, and like you said, it was almost you're being lionized for a while, but then they're trying to put you back in your box of what they believe you should be, because things aren't. We should have things better for us. I'm making a very impassioned speech here from the wrong side. It sounds. I just realised how I sounded in my head. But that's their kind of that not mine, theirs.
Yes.
They kind of, and so that the social commentary that Jordan Peele was then putting onto that set, and people like, people in the media and then and going, oh well, wow, you've made this film about race in America at the right time, and he's like, I made this about when we were all supposed to be, everything was fine.
Exactly. Well, it's quite funny because he's obviously married to a white woman in Chelsea Peretti, and people have asked him, was that part of the inspiration? But it had this idea knocking about before he met her, actually. And it was I think it was a brave thing to make. Brave, he didn't really think that the studio would go for it. It did quite well. I mean, the budget is estimated to be about $5 million, which is just, it's nothing really in Hollywood. And it grossed $250 million. It's the highest grossing film from an original screenplay. Something. It's got all kinds of awards. Well, I'm sure it's something like that. It's the highest grossing.
What original
screenplay
by a first-time director or something like that?
Yeah, I think that must be it. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
$250 million. It's pretty good.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
I
good.
mean, it's a lot of money. It says that. It says a lot. I mean, I wish I'd been one of the people to contribute to that fair cinema figure, because I'd love to have seen it in the cinema.
It's one of those things. I mean, it's the same when a film is made that is going to definitely appeal really, really strongly to a particular demographic. Everybody from that demographic goes and sees it, and everybody else. I mean, Black Panther got 2 billion, or crossed $1 billion because it's a Marvel film, but it got more than most of the Marvel films because you say, well, here's a Marvel film that's finally but that's finally representing lots of black people, and they go, and everybody goes to watch it.
Yeah.
And I think it's very fair. And I suppose in some way that's kind of what Barack Obama represented was, he was probably slightly more liberal than other people had been in his party, but you're going to get basically everybody who's black to vote for you, as well as all the right-thinking people as well, in our minds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought it was great. I'm not very qualified to speak about the social issues on it, aside from the fact that it taught me something. And I have a lot of students who don't seem to think that racism is still an issue, because legally it isn't, if that makes sense. It's illegal to be racist in many different walks of life. You can be, you can be fined or put in prison for saying very racist things or discriminating racially. But it still exists. It just doesn't occur to most white people in this country, especially if they live in quite a white town. It's the same for women, really. A lot of men think that misogyny doesn't exist anymore, but women will still put up with catcalling a lot more than men realise, I think. And it's because they don't tell you every time it happens. You think, oh, well, it's not a problem because I'm not doing it. I'm not racist or misogynistic, so it's not a problem. Yeah. Most people are like me.
And if we're going to take it to a wider context, I suppose this film shines a light again on that positive discrimination of, well, these, especially in certain societies, the people who are in the upper middle class tend to be of a particular ethnicity more heavily than than the working class, if that makes sense. Where you think these attitudes reside isn't because they think they're like that. It's just that the way we structure society happens to be that the people of that ethnicity tend to have this better starts in life.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's it. When people say, "Well, I'm successful because I've worked hard for it." Yes, but also slavery for your race wasn't abolished in the last 200 years. You've been fine for centuries. People really sort of aren't aware of the legacy issues that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that plays across the board for lots of ethnicities in ethnic minorities in predominantly white countries. Again, I'm like you. I'm not very qualified to talk about it.
I don't think we are. But I think what's interesting is like you say, it's gone into a more positive way. They actually see black people as being a more desired ethnicity to have, but they're treated like a curio, like an item to trade. And there's a great ambiguity in the film where they're doing the silent auction, and they hold up fingers. He holds up fingers, and there's a lot of speculation. Is that thousands? Is that millions? Is that billions? What is that figure? If Chris is sold for, I don't know, what was it for, something. Jordan Peele said, well, his side of it was that he sees these as being collectors and very rich, wealthy people. They're part of this sort of cult, essentially, and it's the number of relics or curious items that they're willing to trade for it.
Oh, right. So it's almost they're bartering with their own
collection
capital. Yeah, their own collection. Yeah, cultural capital, because that's what they. Well, that's what they have, isn't it? Essentially, they are the hegemony of that nation, and these are the people who are able to trade in exotic items, and like you said, they've exoticized the black form.
Exactly that. So it's just another form of slavery because they're seeing him as an object. They're really objectifying in that sense.
Yeah. A part of me does wonder if I enjoyed the film because it was dealing with race, and I was like sat there going, would I think this is a good? So I suppose this is a good time to move on to the let's judge it on its own merits as just a film, as within its own genre, which is it's like a horror thriller, isn't it? I mean, what do you think in terms of that? I mean, I think I'm not so. Look, I like to analyze critically when we look at these films, and let's see what's new and different about it. So obviously, something that's new and different about it is the social side. And that a lot of that, the first 2 acts of the film are about that. But I think the third act, it kind of falls into classic sort of horror thriller.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to get away. It still has commentary. Did you notice that his way of escaping was picking cotton from the chair, which I thought was great. Good visual metaphor. No, I agree. I think it's very much he's got to get out there, and it's thrilling, and he's got to battle each person. But I don't see another way of doing it. I think it was played well because there's a couple of jumps in there. I think it's very cathartic. It's very satisfying.
Yeah.
And one of the alternate endings that was different was as he's choking Rose, and the sirens pull up. It was actual police, and it cuts to him in prison. And Rod goes and visits him in prison and says, "Look, just remember all the names you can. We'll get you out of here." And he looks defeated, and he just says, "I stopped it happening. I've stopped it." So he's and that was it. And it was going to be, I think, a much darker message about, I suppose, police brutality and prejudice and so on against black people, because it looks really bad. It looks really bad when he's there over the over the white woman's body, covered in blood, the house on fire.
Yeah, I must admit, when I first saw the police pull up, I thought that was the way it was going to go, and then I was like, "Oh, we're going to have like a 10-minute ending where he's having to."
A whole thing. It could be a sequel where there's a court case and there's
or you was like, oh well, what really happened, and him trying to,
because like you said, because it didn't work for Rod when he went to the police to explain it.
Yeah, and obviously if everyone's dead, the local police don't take. Yeah, that was a great idea itself, just to go, well, here's the police. What does this image look like? It's so smart, this film.
It's great, and I do actually like the fact that it was the happy ending side of it. I mean, I'm the same with, say, Shawshank Redemption. Spoiler alert. A lot of people think it should have ended with him just saying, "I hope," and he's on the bus. And then there's the minute-long scene of him on the beach, going up to Andy. And I prefer the happy ending, I think, because it's a bit more closure. The novella ended on just "I hope," and it's great, and it makes more sense, and it's more artistic. But just as a viewer, as a listener, as a reader, as a viewer, it was more satisfying. So I think I was happy when Rod turned up. So I've got some trivia for you about the film.
Let's go for the trivia time.
Jingle time.
Trivia jingle time.
Jordan Peele.
I think our jingle for this should be just us saying we're going to do a jingle, and each week just singing something randomly and see what comes
jingle, up. For the trivia quiz. No, the trivia side. So Jordan Peele, his voice appeared twice in the film. You might know this.
I do, yeah.
Do you remember what it was?
So the first one is he's the voice of somebody in a... Have you written these down?
Yeah. Good,
because the first one's when he's the voice of a recording at the beginning. Finance just landed on me. Brilliant. So I can't remember what he says. And then the second one was... which one was it? He does another voiceover, doesn't he?
He plays not necessarily a character, but he voices something.
Oh, it's the deer.
Yeah, it's the deer, which I think is great.
Yeah, I thought that deer noise sounded weird when I was watching the film. And when I saw that, I was like, you can tell that's a bloke.
Actually, I don't have that much trivia. I've got one more.
Do you have are we doing the quiz?
Yeah, there's going to be a quiz. Don't worry, there'll be a quiz. Don't you worry about that. Another nice bit of trivia I found was that the actor who played Rod, when Rod's getting very exasperated when he's trying to track down Chris because he's not answering his phone, he was really ill for a day or two, and when they were filming it, he's getting really sweaty when he's kind of trying to find the right phone numbers, when he's on the phone to Rose, when he goes to the police, he's getting very sweaty, and he was ill. That wasn't a very good one, I'm afraid.
I've got a good bit of some good facts for you.
Oh, go on.
Some good bit of trivia. So the song that Skiliza Kawa Wenga.
What?
Yeah, you know the song at the beginning? That's what it's saying.
Oh, what is this?
Listen.
What is it again?
It's like Sika Lisa Kawawanga.
Kawawanga. Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah.
As I said, that's what Jordan Peele described as being satanic Negro spiritual.
Yeah.
And they captured it. It's very voodoo. It's very, it captures
brilliant, isn't it?
That. Yeah.
So
that's it. Actually, that takes us nicely to the quiz. But
I haven't given you the fact.
Oh, sorry. What was the fact? Oh, that was the fact.
That's the song. No, that's what the song. But it says. So what I've got here is that phrase is a Swahili phrase that translates to "listen to your ancestors," and the song lyrics loosely means something bad is coming. Run.
Oh, jeez.
So once again, if you know Swahili, you know the theory, you know the plot of a film, and what's going to happen. Yep. Do you know the other one where it basically gives away what's happening in this film?
Go on.
The Lion King, the opening lyrics to The Lion King, the bit in the famous Savannah, that bit. I always like to say Arsene Wenger.
Arsene Wenger, obviously.
Yeah, because
basically since 1996, Lion King was ruined for everybody.
Yeah, all football fans. Apparently that means something in Swahili is, look, there's a big lion over there. Yeah.
Who's going to kill your dad? Oh, and then he's going to come after you. Oh, it's Hamlet.
Yeah.
What's Hamlet for lions in Swahili?
Arsavenya.
Also, before we do the quiz, a couple of critical response notes.
Oh, yeah, we need to do our critics' response, don't we?
On Rotten Tomatoes. Last year it was 99%, it's now 98%. There's been 6 negative reviews to 300
tell you. 25 years from now it'll be down at 93%.
I think it's one of those where people just like to be, contrary, just to be found more as a review, because I only looked for the not fresh reviews. So it was Screen Zealots Louisa Moore says it's a wannabe thriller, lacks any suspense, has very little humour. It fails to succeed as a parody, satirical comedy, or conventional horror. It has an unappealing cast of actors, and it has a lifeless story, and it's slow to set up. I don't know what film they were watching. It's slow to set up. Well, it's slow to set up, but it's creepy as fuck. So
yeah,
it's just people talking and stuff's just happening, but it's creepy,
Oh yeah, and it is. Just read the first bit out again.
It's a wannabe thriller. Lacks any suspense, has very little humour. Lacks suspense.
It has lots of suspense.
It fails to succeed as a parody, satirical comedy, or conventional horror.
It's not a wannabe thriller, is it? It is a genuinely good thriller.
It wants to be a thriller, and it succeeds in being a thriller. There was a really good choice that Jordan Peele made, actually, in cutting a scene. One of the outtakes, one of the deleted scenes was Chris in the sunken place, and he finds a lighter in his pocket, and he's lighting and getting a bit of a light, and basically it builds up to a cheap jump scare where there's a demonic deer bone, skeleton, in there with him. And I was so glad they cut it, because it just felt like a cheap scare, and then you go, and so is he eaten by the deer now? What? I don't know if you've seen this deleted scene.
No, this is one of the ones I haven't seen.
And it doesn't work at all, really. And I'm so glad they got rid of it, because it would have been, oh, we're doing a horror thing. And actually, it's a horror perfectly fine. It doesn't need that extra level of jeopardy. He's in the sunken place, and his brain's going to be, he's going to have somebody else's brain put into his body.
But the horror in the sunken, I mean, when you think about the horror of the sunken place for him, isn't just the lack of his control, but it's that he's stuck there thinking about his regrets of how he behaved when he was young and when his mother died.
As we saw from Walter, you'd rather just die.
Yeah.
As soon as at the end, when Walter gets some, sentience and gets control of his body again, he just kills himself immediately, because he'd rather be dead than put up with that.
Yeah, it's destroyed him that much that he's just wants sweet release of death from it. Yeah. So
I was glad they got rid of that, and that would have made it slightly more conventional horror, I think.
That is a very contrarian view for such a good...
And also, unappealing cast of actors. Alison Williams is just phenomenal in this film. They're all brilliant in this film. I really don't understand that at all.
Yeah, there's no bad performance in it, is there?
No, I mean, when you've got Bradley Whitford in your film, you're fine for performances. He was so good as Dean, and he nails it. So that I don't know what it was at a film festival so maybe they saw it once, maybe they were in a bad mood, maybe it was the 7th film they'd seen that day. I'm gonna let them off. Yeah. Obviously, Roger Ebert doesn't have an opinion on this.
Well, film. There he goes. What's that now? Is that 4 from 4?
4 from 4. But I'll go to Mark Kermode, who is the greatest critic in the world, I think. He chose it as his film of the week. There weren't many kind of what's the word? There weren't many sound bites I could take from it, so much as some of the things he said. He called it a smart satire. He said it. I've forgotten the name of the person. The person who wrote Stepford Wives and Rosemary's Baby. They said that when they were writing those, they found that when the revelations were coming, the creepiness rewards weren't as good. And he said that this film deals with that really well by just really ramping up the catharsis, really ramping up how rewarding it gets when you've figured out the whole scenario. Then you just get to enjoy yourself while he's killing everybody and then getting saved, which I thought was very nice.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's one of those, isn't it? That that's it. Again, you don't have to be the ethnicity to be like, yeah, these people deserve what's coming to them. Way. It's like, I'm not sat there going, oh no, the poor white woman's dying, the good-looking poor white woman's dying. No, I'm like, good. I'm glad this psychopathic person is being horrifically murdered. Because
she somehow manages to make herself not good-looking. She's gorgeous, but when she puts her hair up like that and puts on a demonic smile and pulls it too tight, she's just this weird robot sociopath. And then, the great moment when she stops fighting him and just starts smiling at him when he's choking her. It's just a great character choice.
Yeah, I mean, you might say she becomes a little one-dimensional at that point, if I'm being ultra-critical, when she's being this like weird kind of inhumane robot at that point.
Yeah, I agree. But I quite like that there's no nuance. She's just
a psychopath.
A complete,
yeah. That's her. Maybe without the mask, her mask is this lovely, preppy white woman.
Yeah, and she plays it so well. And immediately, just like that, it's gone. Apparently, Alison Willis had to prepare for 45 minutes to get into character. And when she was in character, her dog didn't come near her.
Yeah. By the way, the writer of Rosemary's Baby and Stepford Wives is Ira Levin.
That's right, Ira Levin. Yeah, that's great. So yeah,
we both tried to memorise that earlier and both totally failed.
Failed completely. Yeah. Are you ready for the quiz?
Welcome to Please Watch Us, where two men
Please Watch Us. Please Watch Us make absolute fucking dicks of ourselves by forgetting every woman's name. Yeah, fair enough. Should we do the quiz?
Yes, so no Rebut, but we got a Kermode in there.
I think it's one or the other every week. Or both.
Yeah, I mean, any review you read of it, the majority of them are just
98%.
Great, Yeah, and something I think I'm keen to ask, because the more contemporary films we watch, because obviously a lot of the films we're going to introduce to us are films that are a bit older, they've had time to age. Is this film going to hold up?
The films you're going to recommend, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I've got one from 1957 on my list, so that's fine. It's fine.
Exactly. But yeah, it's that whole... is this film still going to be I mean, we're still going to enjoy it in like 10, 20, 30 years from now, but I am always keen to see if a film holds up.
Oh, massively. I think it will. It's quite smart and it's quite subtle and it works as a film, I think. But you're right, it could.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll hold up as a film.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the same way that one of its biggest influences in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, that was the whole conceit, was there's a white woman going back to her parents with her boyfriend and he's a black man. And that was the whole film, whereas that would be an interesting episode of a sitcom now, maybe. But it wouldn't be a 100-minute film,
No. That's a great film, by the way, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
I might not have seen that. Maybe we'll have that on another episode.
Ooh, yeah, it's really good. I watched it. It's a solid film. It's not like... I was sat watching it expecting it to be sort of... Oh, well, it's a bit quaint now, but yeah, it was still relevant at the time. So I think that's maybe why this film will live on, because it'll keep its relevancy.
Yeah.
Moths everywhere.
That's what I forget about summer. All the windows open, all the lights on. Okay, you ready for the quiz?
Yeah. Dun dun dun! It's the quiz. Ah.
There's a couple of these we've already talked about, but you know, we'll just make sure the listeners have been listening. So, question 1: where or for whom does Rod work?
Oh, the TSA.
TSA. Do you know what it stands for?
Knew you were going to ask that. The security agency.
Okay.
Territorial Services Airport. Something airport. There's something airport. It's got to be, hasn't it? Or airports.
Sounds like I'm listening to a man lose his mind.
What does TSA stand for?
I mean,
do you know what? It's one of those. I know they're the securities.
Security's right.
They're the American. Okay, so it's not airport. The security agents. I'm going with the security agency.
No,
they're a big branch of the.
It's the Transportation Security Administration. So you had some good guesses. I wouldn't have known it. I had to Google it, of course.
Yeah.
Question 2: what martial art does Jeremy prefer?
Is it Krav Maga?
Krav Maga?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
No. Because you would have said yes if I'd said it right first time. I mean, he likes MMA. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, right. MMA, yeah. MMA. I thought you meant the actual
MMA.
specific martial art.
Well,
yeah, he's a big MMA fan.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Whereas Chris prefers...
Say again, sorry?
What does Chris prefer?
Chris prefers not to fight.
True. They talk about judo, didn't they?
Yeah, of course. Judo.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was great, actually, because he talks about you've got to think 3 steps ahead, and you might have seen... maybe you did see this. We watched the video on Jordan Peele talking about the theories, and the idea was that... actually, sorry, no, it's... he doesn't prefer MMA. Jiu-jitsu is what Jeremy prefers. Yeah, sorry. I knew I'd get that wrong. He said it's all about thinking 3 moves ahead. So when they're having the fight, when Chris is trying to get out, Jeremy kicks the door. They're fighting again. He tries to open the door. Jeremy kicks the door again. Chris knows that he's just got to get him to do it again, and he'll stab him with the leg in the leg with the scissors, which I thought was brilliant.
But why don't you just reach back and stab him in the face with the scissors?
Well, why don't you reach back and you stab him in the face with the scissors?
Well, yeah. See, this is my thing with horror films. Ultimately, is that characters make choices like that. It's like someone's choking you out. You've got a pair of scissors. Just stab them in the eye. Never mind in the bloody leg. They'll die pretty fucking quickly if you stab them in the eye.
Yeah, but it's leverage. Actually, I think I made a mistake twice. Right? Okay, so Jeremy thinks Chris should be an MMA fighter. Chris says he took jiu-jitsu in school. So that's it. That was the 2. I don't know where judo's come into it, but anyway, yeah, stab him would do it as well, I suppose, just stabbing him. By the way, did you know...
Good old-fashioned laceration.
When you were watching it, at what point did you realise, or are you only just realising, that the man who was kidnapped in the first scene is Andre, who we see say get out?
Yeah, it was... You can't tell, can you? Because it's so darkly lit.
Well...
And his voice is different.
Are you saying that you struggle to differentiate between...
I wasn't sure, and it was as soon as obviously it was when you saw him with the helmet on.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, that's clearly Andre.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's good. Question 3. We did definitely talk about this. Why does Stephen Root's character claim to want Chris's body?
His eye.
I want your eye, man. And Jordan Peele said he's also got a secondary motive, which is he thinks that being a black photographer would have more, would do better for him in the art world, basically. Question 4. According to Dean Armitage, why shouldn't they go down into the basement?
Because it's got black mould.
Yeah, which I thought was great. And then finally, really tricky one for you. What song is Rose listening to while she's eating Fruit Loops?
Oh, do you know? I knew I should have paid attention to that song.
I'll give you a moment to think about it.
Is it? I can't tell you what the song. I think I can give you the artist. Was it? Was it Taylor Swift?
Was it? Sorry, what?
Was it Taylor Swift?
No.
Was she listening to Taylor Swift?
No.
No, I don't know.
I've had the time of my life.
Oh yeah, of course she's listening to that song.
And as a bonus question, what's she doing on the laptop?
She's looking at pictures of fit, athletic black men.
Yeah, it's she's typed in top NCAA prospects, which is great. I love that. It's just great seeing that. So I've got 2 questions for you. Firstly, would you recommend this film?
I would wholeheartedly recommend this film because it's everything that you want it to be and more.
That's great.
Do you know what I mean?
And how many? Oh God, I haven't thought of a thing. How many black molds out of 10?
Yeah, I'd give it a 9.
9, very solid.
Yeah.
Very solid score.
I'd say that's probably going to be a hard score to beat for a long time, to be honest.
Fantastic, 2-1 to me.
From me personally, yeah, because I don't. The only thing that lets it down is, like you said, it's very cathartic at the end, but there's nothing new once the horror and that side of the genre starts up. It's, the thing that makes that good is the comic relief interspersed in it.
Although I do think the very end is a new thing that I haven't seen, where the protagonist has won, but the police show up, and that's not a good thing. Or at least that's what it seems like when the sirens go. Like the police showing up when you're just about free should be great. But it's a really good comment on race in America. I thought it was a really nice touch. Hugh, what are we going to do next week?
So next week, I'm gonna try and win you over to because you didn't like Empire. I'm gonna try and one more shot of winning you over to at least the universe of Star Wars, and a film that came out recently that you haven't seen, and a film that, I'll be honest, maybe isn't the best loved Star Wars film, but I really enjoyed it.
What is it?
It's Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Rouge One.
Yeah, Rouge One, yeah. Yeah, yes.
Okay, is that the first of this new batch?
Yeah, so what do you know about it?
I know very little. I think it's got Felicity Jones in it.
Well, that was another reason. I just remembered, that's another reason I wanted to.
Great.
Yeah,
does it have...
Even Felicity Jones obsession.
So, I think in Empire, was it Rogue 2? The flight that was trying to find them on Hoth. Was that the ship?
Yeah, so it's Rogue is a designation of a squadron, Rogue Squadron inside Star Wars canon.
Based on The Last Jedi, and the actors appearing again, I think Rogue One is a sequel to Empire. Sorry, sequel to Return of the Jedi. Presumably something like 20 years, 30 years later. And I don't know anything else.
Yeah, Well, I'm looking forward to this being a surprise for you actually now, because I'm debating whether I should make you watch a trailer for it before you watch the film outright.
Why would I do that?
Sometimes, because a lot of these Star Wars films are obviously viewed through the lens of their trailers.
Oh, I'm not going to... What? I don't understand. I don't like watching trailers before a film. What?
Because any highly anticipated film of a blockbuster nature always has trailers out before it.
And I always avoid them. Because then I won't like it. Yeah, so I'm already gearing up to not like it.
Because it's Star Wars.
I'll go in without knowing anything, because that's what films should be viewed as.
Let's hope Felicity Jones can save the day for the...
If she's on it for a lot, then I'll at least be able to enjoy her performance.
Right, well, damning with faint praise, I guess.
We'll see.
So, I'll explain more next week.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm looking forward to it, I guess.
Yeah, so...
Taking up 4 or 5 hours of my holiday watching Rogue One. Yeah, no, I look forward to it. So that's
Cool.
all I know. I know nothing at all. I think David Boyega's in it. Daniel Boyega.
No, not in this one.
Right. Okay. Has there been 3 now? Rogue One, something else, and Last Jedi.
So the newer films, since they finished doing the prequels in 2006, there's been you've had The Force Awakens, which is Star Wars Episode 7. There's Force Awakens.
So you've made me watch Episode 5 and Episode 8.
No, hang fire. No, because have you seen The Last Jedi?
No.
No, right, fine. Have you seen? You told me you'd seen The Force Awakens, though.
No.
You haven't seen The Force Awakens?
I have not seen The Force Awakens. Why would I have seen The Force Awakens?
I'm sure you said you and your girlfriend watched that.
No. Why would I watch that?
I don't know. I thought she made you watch it, and you liked it.
I watched The New Hope.
Unless that was somebody else. You only watched A New Hope and
I've seen A New
Empire.
Hope and Empire, and I think most of Phantom Menace 20 years ago.
Right, okay.
So The Force Awakens is the one I should watch.
Well, now that you said that,
Good
I
God.
might change it to The Force Awakens.
Are there 9 of these films?
But you haven't watched Return of the Jedi, have you? So
Good.
yeah,
God,
I'm going to make you. No, I'm going to make you watch. No, I'm going to not make you, because that sounds false. I'm going to recommend that you watch now next week. You just
next
be
week
like,
you're
so
going to
what
watch
did you think
Das
of the
Boot
film?
in 2 weeks. You know that's like 6 hours long. Okay. What are you doing to me?
Well, I'm on holiday in September, so if you want to wait till then, I watched Das Boot when they showed the remake.
Oh, I forgot you'd love that one. What's a really crap film that's 8 hours long that you'd really hate?
Right, first of all, I know that you like Felicity Jones, so that's why I'm picking this, because I'm at least hanging a little nugget of something you enjoy in front of you. And given that you haven't seen the films that I thought you had seen, then this will make sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna leave you in a. I'm gonna have to tell you now. So right, Rogue One.
Wait! Don't tell me anything. Wait, hang on. So.
No, I need to give you some context that I thought you knew going into this.
So I'm watching Rogue One, is that right?
Yeah, so I'm going to make you watch Rogue. I'm going to recommend you watch Rogue One. Next week you turn up and go, yeah, I didn't watch it because it was only a recommendation.
So now you're going to spoil Force Awakens for me to do. What I'll do is...
No, I'm not spoiling The Force Awakens. Listen.
Are you spoiling Return of the Jedi?
No, I'm not spoiling any
Tell me
film
then, what
for
are you
you.
going to do? What are you doing?
So Rogue One is a prequel to Star Wars, the original Star Wars.
Will the film tell me this? Shouldn't it stand up on its own?
Yes, it will tell you this, but you need to have seen Star Wars to know what's going on.
Go on.
Not entirely, but you just need to watch it. You just need to know that that's what the premise of this film is. It's
right.
It's set literally just before it.
So it's set just before which one?
Star Wars: A New Hope, Episode 5.
Right. Okay. So it's sort of like okay. Fair enough.
So if we were to put it in a chronology timeline, so you've got Episode 1. Obviously.
Hang on. So we had a bunch of films, and then 20 odd years later, we had 3 films that came before that chronologically.
Yeah.
And then we've got 3 films now that are sort of interspersed and after that.
So what happened was, so let me explain it to you.
How long is the sort of title credit that's telling me all about I'd like trade and tax and import export? How long does that go on for?
You can be sarcastic
so I can
all
set
you
a
like.
timer.
Yeah. So when they decided to do the new trilogy, they also announced that they were going to do some standalone films,
like Solo.
Like Solo, and Rogue One was the first one of these Solo films.
Oh, it's a standalone.
Yeah, that's why I'm recommending it to you, because
I didn't know
I wanted to A, that it had Felicity Jones in it. B, it's a standalone film, and it's thrice. It's got a good director.
Is he called John Boyega?
Yes, he is.
Well, I called him
Did
Daniel.
You call him
I
Jordan?
think.
Did you call him Daniel Boyega?
Yeah.
Now you mention it. Yeah, I just heard Boyega and was like, oh yeah,
John Boyega. Yeah.
Yeah.
God,
I've not seen Attack the Block. We might have to watch that at some point.
It's all right. I don't want to recommend that.
Oh right, okay.
I only like to recommend good films. You see, you might have noticed that.
Yeah. So right, I think it's time for us to chuff off.
I think it was 20 minutes ago, but well, let's do that. Sorry, guys.
I didn't realise that. I should have explained this all off air.
This was a production meeting on air for quite a lengthy time.
Yeah.
So if you want to get in touch with the show, if you want to tell us that we're shit and we should cut down this last 20 minutes, we are available.
Keep it to yourself.
Keep it to yourself. If you really liked it, if you want to tell other people,
just shout loudly into a pillow, or cushion.
Dig a hole in the ground. And bury yourself in it, frankly.
Yeah. So if you do want to share an opinion, where should they find us
on Twitter? They'll find us at Please Watch Pod. Please Watch Pod.
It helps if you know what we're called.
Yeah.
So do you want to try that again?
Yes. On Twitter, you can find us at Please Watch Pod, and you can email us at
Please Watch This Pod. I've done it as well.
We need to have this written
down.
You
got me
on the wall.
Yeah, I don't have it written in front of me. You're the one who's. Have you got it written there in front? It's please watch this pod at Gmail. Yeah, it's
Gmail.
Please watch this pod at Gmail. That was an email.
You can't just say at Gmail.
It is, yeah. It's please watch this pod
at gmail.com.
Yeah, people know it's .com with Gmail. Look, if you're listening to this and you don't know that Gmail is only .com,
then don't
what
email
are you doing
us.
Me like?
But what about those poor people who've gone...
email, put Gmail, put at gmail.ca.uk. See what that gets you. I mean, we won't get it, but you'll have a great time.
So Twitter is at Please Watch Pod. Email is what?
Please watch this pod at Gmail.
You don't know, do you? Is it pod or is it not?
It is pod.
So it's please watch this pod.
Let me go on Google now.
So it's called please watch this pod at gmail.com.
Got it here. Shut up. Did I say it wrong? Yeah, please watch this. It's.
So you didn't.
It's please watch this .pod at gmail.com. This is horrifically
so this means every episode
backfired.
we said it wrong. Okay, so it's please watch this .pod at gmail.com.
It's .pod.
We'll have to go and retcon.
We haven't had it. This is why we haven't had any emails yet. Not the fact that I haven't uploaded it.
We'll have to change it. Also, retcon, I found out that's retroactive continuity. So let's retcon the shit out of those previous pods and change the email address on it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, it's been a blast. I'm glad you enjoyed the film that I recommended, because it was an obvious one to like.
2 weeks in a row now that we've both enjoyed the film that each has recommended.
Well,
let's hope
3 weeks in a row. Basically, we started badly, and then we've been good ever since.
Why? What did we had?
Princess Bride.
The second
Princess
one.
Bride.
Oh, we did have the Princess Bride second.
Unforgettable.
Literally.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's been a blast.
Right.
And
we'll
edit this down to less than 4 hours.
Stop it now.
All right.
Say goodbye.
Love you all. Bye.
Bye.